offseason. With Polo, he's been a fixture at the top of your lineup for a long time. Kind of how important has he been to your lineup construction, and what are your thoughts about kind of the uncertainty around his future?
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly, obviously, an established player, but he's been one of the most important players that we've had in my tenure with the Twins. And I've said it before, but middle infielders who switch hit and are always productive when they're on the field, who you can hit in really almost anywhere at the top of the lineup. There's very few of those guys anywhere in the world that can do what he does. So on top of that, great teammate. I mean, I can sit here and just talk about all the positive things about Polo, but I mean, I try to always make sure that I'm appreciating Polo and everything that he does for us, helping us win games, because he's a very, very good player. And if you ever don't have a player like that, like for instance when he, has been off the field, you look up and quickly realize what you're missing. You're missing a lot.
That conversation is obviously, but when you have a guy that presents value like that to you as a manager, how do you balance, that's value to a lot of clubs and to you guys as well versus like that's a guy you want at the top of your lineup as a switch hitter, balancing things out?
Yeah, you just don't want to lose him. That's it. I mean, that's pretty easy, because no matter what you do, you can find other good players, you can acquire players. You can't replace all the things he does. So you just I like the idea of also keeping him and having Polo with us as long as possible and watching him just play.
What's kind of your view on center field? Michael A. Taylor, so yeah, Byron, that really doesn't. Someone in the 40 minutes been there every day type.
Right. So it's probably a lot. I don't want to sit up here and just talk in three different directions. I mean, we have one of the best center fielders out there in Byron Buxton. He's doing very well right now. I'll let Derek probably give more of a medical update, but he's doing very well after his welcome, Dan. His procedure went well. He's doing very well. He's doing a lot of rotational stuff right now and feeling good. So we're going to go into spring training planning on, if everything continues to go well, having him out there in center field, and very hopeful that the procedure he had puts him in the spot he needs to be in. But we have to plan for everything as usual, and Michael did a tremendous job for us this past year. Defensively, the solidification of everything going on defensively, a lot of that revolved around him and Carlos up the middle. And having a guy like that, we don't necessarily have that player unless you're talking about Buck. There are some other guys, I won't, again, dive into every name, but we have some guys that we think have the ability and could grow and could come into playing that position. But right now, it's still early in the off season. I'll probably say that a few times as I sit here. We're quietly building. We're quietly kind of assessing everything going on around us, and we just have to stay ready in case there is a move that presents itself. You never want to put yourself in a spot where you're never going to have too many good players, but where you're impeding yourself in any way. But also, you need to protect your team and have as much good depth as possible. Yeah. Well, whether you're talking, no matter which player you're talking about, you don't know anything for sure. It's December. Anyone that's rehabbing and coming back, you have a plan, and then you have different directions you can go if that plan doesn't work out exactly the way you want. But the news is positive so far. The little video clips that I get, they look good. He's doing well.
Have you had a chance to talk to him at all?
I have not talked to Buck. I've talked to Nick. I talked to Nick recently. He had a visit up in Minneapolis. I don't know if you guys have gotten any details on that, but I think it was a checkup and also kind of like a good session where everyone got to lay eyes on him up in Minneapolis. And it went just as good as we could have hoped.
I'm sure you didn't want to lose Sonny, but could you give us a scouting report on his competitiveness, his fire on the mound as a guy that you managed?
Yeah, I mean, we had him for a couple of years as productive on the mound as of any pitcher you're gonna be able to acquire. Very successful, but the way he goes about it, different than most. He's got a good kind of older school approach and personality to a lot of the things that he does, which a lot of the people in the game appreciate, and especially on the day he pitches. He's a different cat when he's out there on the day he pitches. But you really, I could tell you all the things that I think, but the one thing I can say is that his teammates, when he has the ball in his hands, they want to jump on his back, every time he goes out there and takes the mound. And he's going to want to keep pitching. He's going to want the ball. He's going to want, but he's going to be extraordinarily, straightforward and aggressive, just focusing on getting outs. He doesn't get distracted very easily, if ever. Even when things don't go his way, he just worries about making a really good pitch, the pitch he wants, on the following pitch, and that's it. So he approaches things the right way. He's gonna be, he's gonna be very good with the Cardinals. I'm certain of that. And he's still getting better. He's still willing to make adjustments at this point in his career, which is why he's been such a good pitcher. As he's gotten older, he's continually, you could say, he's pitching better now than he was probably even a few years back, and that's him.
He threw his sweeper twice as much. Was that something that came from you guys or your analytics people, or?
Well, everything that eventually happens, I think, comes from the player. I mean, the player has to buy in, and Sonny had to feel good about whatever pitch he's throwing. And Sonny also can do anything he wants out there. If any pitch he wants to throw, he's going to throw it. And whatever pitch is on his mind, that's the one that's coming. So obviously that was something that he's been doing more of. It really is that it. But it was a good pitch for him. But I don't label his pitches. Only he's the one that really knows what he's about to do as he's about to, rear back and release the ball, because he can manipulate and do different things with all of his pitches so well, and that's his harder stuff and his off speed. But they're almost all of them. They're pretty effective.
Thank you.
Yep, you got it.
Losing Sonny and Kenta, how do you feel about just the rotation of those two, kind of as it stands right now?
Yeah, well, you never want to lose some of your good players, but part of what we do, and as I was just saying, you constantly just have to be looking around at ways to get yourself better, and we've done it over the past 5 years since I've been here. That's really all I can talk about, in a variety of ways, and we're going to have to continue to do that. We're going to have to be aggressive when the opportunities are in front of us, and you don't know when those opportunities are going to come, whether you're fielding a phone call from another club or developing your own players and pushing them kind of out there into the spotlight and onto the field and kind of supporting them and just letting them play. You're going to have to take some chances because you're not going to have the same club. We don't necessarily, losing those guys is tough, but you don't want to have the exact same club every single year. I also think some movement on the roster creates a little hunger and shakes things up in a good way for a lot of the players too. Our rotation was good to us last year. They were very, very productive, very effective. Every time we handed the ball to someone, we got a good start, felt like. It's not going to be the same rotation, but you start adding Paddock in there. You start looking at Louis Varland. Again, he could pitch in different roles, but we have some guys. But we're gonna stay open-minded and see if maybe we can even add to the group.
With Byron Buxton, last year it was evident pretty early in
Who's that? I'm sorry, Dan.
With Buxton.
Yeah.
It was evident pretty early in spring that you guys were going to wait a little while to bring this summer, build them up later. Was there ever any point where you thought, yeah, this is getting close, this is real, or did it stay pretty removed for you throughout the year?
I don't know how to really necessarily answer it, where early on in spring training, we were just kind of going off of how he was recovering and how he was doing. And again, I feel like I'm kind of just stating some of the same things that we talked about kind of all year long, and I'll probably avoid doing that. But he's one of the best players in the game. If he was capable at any point of playing more or getting out there on the field, he'd be out there. Like, believe me, and he knows that, and I think everyone here who's been around him on a regular basis knows that. I think there's reasons to be optimistic right now about how he's doing. But again, you have to evaluate any guy coming back from something once we get down to spring training, and that first set of, that first week of workouts, that first game or two or three that they play, it's going to tell you how the player's doing. But it's going to be a build-up one way or the other. That's I think obvious, but he's doing fine right now, which we're pleased about. And we're not going to know anything for certain ever until we get to opening day, and that's ultimately when the decisions are going to come to light.
Rocco, just curious, the success of the Texas Rangers and the success of the Arizona Diamondbacks, do you think that changes the way organizations possibly build their rosters? Or
Well, you're always learning from the teams around you, and you try to pay attention to everything going on. So those two teams, congratulations to them on all of their success, because they had two wonderful seasons. But I don't necessarily think that success that a team has in a given year is going to change the approach of our club or probably any other club. You're gonna pick and choose what you're kind of looking at and what you're trying to learn. I mean, the way we approach things this year is different than last year and certainly 5 or 10 years ago. So you just have to keep evolving, and those teams obviously evolved very quickly.
Rocco mentioned the approach Sonny had. I wonder for you if you saw that impact the rest of your pitching staff, how that might play out for you last week.
Yeah, I think some of those things are tangible. That some of the things that Sonny would bring to the table were very tangible. They'd watch him pitch and pick and choose and mimic some of the things that they would see. But I think some of them are not necessarily things that you can really grab a hold of, like his desire to hold on to the ball in his starts, and just how much, not physically with his fists, but how he kind of fights out there on the mound when things get more challenging in an outing, the way he approaches all of those different situations and the pitches and the way he acts out there and things like that. I think those are the things that the players really liked watching and probably drew something out of, maybe even more so than the pitches that he was throwing during the game. But he's one of the best pitchers in the game still, and everyone's eyes are on him when he takes the ball, and I think that it's going to be like that in his new home as well.
Jose coming off injury, Carolina coming off injury, Solano's a free agent. You guys brought in Solano late in spring. Do you, with those guys dealing with it last year, is first base something you kind of are looking at where you guys can use some help potentially?
Yeah, I would say it's a spot on the field where we still have some things to kind of work out before spring training starts. AK coming back from some of the health stuff that he's been dealing with. AK is an exceptional hitter. I mean, the year that he had last year was a very, I would call it, high-end offensive year, and he did it unhealthy. He actually was a well above average major league hitter, struggling, through periods of time to take the field and to even swing the bat. So, you sit there and you go, well, this guy should be able to get to a good spot and get strong, upper body wise, and then you really wonder what he's capable of. And we got some good news on him. So knowing that he's not coming back from something that should take him into the season, something that he should probably be able to come back from sooner than later, that's good. I mean, that's something we were real happy to see. So, but with that said, he's still coming back from something again, and we're going to need to kind of figure out how everyone fits on the roster. I mean, one roster move, which every team's going to have, several times over. And the way everything fits kind of changes. We don't necessarily have a plug and play group where everyone just goes out there and plays for 9 innings. We make moves. We're going to platoon at times. We're going to do different things, and our players are open-minded to that. I think they've seen some of the benefits of it, a lot of them. So can we get stronger in some ways? I think we can, but we don't know how that's going to happen yet. And we have the right pieces already that we feel good about. But again, we grabbed Solano right as spring training starting. Yeah, after spring training is start, we're just going to keep working throughout and see what happens.
Still going to feel a need to continue filling that other half of the platoon with guys like Julian and Walner and Kirilov moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, we have Farmer right now too, who can help us in a lot of different spots. Miranda coming back. We have some guys that are very capable, but what I would say is we probably have more of those left-handed bats to go out there and face those types of pitchers, and fewer guys the right-handed hitting side of things. So right now, every year you go into the off season with a few spots that you're paying more attention to. That's probably one of them for us. But how we fill those holes, we're not going to probably fill them at the winter meetings. We're gonna probably do that throughout the off season going into spring training.
And during the second year of Owen, the notable rule changes, do you plan to do anything differently in terms of it seemed like you guys stole more in the second half, especially with Chadwick and Castro.
Yeah.
More things.
Well, when we have some guys that can run a little bit and do some things, we're gonna let them go and track meet it out and run. Let them do what they do well. And Willie was great. Stevenson late in the year came up for a short period of time. We let him run. That's the game is set up to let athletic players go out there and just run around and do things and help you win. So the more guys that we have like that, the more we're going to run. And that's, pretty simple stuff. But I'd love to have a bunch of guys that could go do that and just sit back and green light them and let them go. It's also our job to help some of our other guys, whether they're veteran players or guys that maybe they don't run the same way as Willie Castro, pick and choose their spots. And we did a little bit of that last year. Most of our base running production came from the guys that we were just letting them go. And even Buck, who again wasn't 100% last year, clearly still was a really good base runner, and he's helping us do a lot of positive things when he's out there too, even if he's not running 100. Buck at 90% running around on the bases is a better base runner than almost everyone in this game. So that's another weapon that's right there for us.
How you may use Garland dependent on other moves that may or may not make.
I don't know when that decision's going to be made. I love having Louis Varland. I love giving Louis Varland the ball. I think I told you guys at the end of the year, when he's throwing 100 with a 90 to 92 mile an hour cutter, and you're sending him out there against the best hitters that you're going to face, and he's going right through them, it makes you kind of open your eyes a little bit, and that's exciting. But he can also start, and it's hard to develop starting pitching in this game too. We're going to have some decisions to make as far as what we're going to eventually do with him. I've talked with Pete a whole bunch on this. Pete's optimistic that he could be a very good major league starting pitcher. And when you have those guys in front of you, you don't look away. You don't just put a guy in the pen just because he ticks up when he's in the pen. If you have a major league starter, you're going to want him to start and give you innings and help you win. So just the fact that we're even talking about this, it's a real good thing. The decision will probably be made later on in the off season, or even going into spring training, because either way, Louis is going to be stretched out. We're going to let him get out there. He's going to put innings under his belt. He'll be ready. Going into the second, third week of spring training, he's going to throw a bunch. And then if whatever happens and decision we make, we'll probably make it at that point.